I've been waiting for this one to come out. Okay, you ready? Wait. Something right. Oh yeah, I forgot I had something. That's better. I will admit, there was a time where I thought the same thing, but I've come to realize that it's not filler. Don't believe me? Alright, so we're going to look at 4 main episodes that are widely considered to be the worst episodes of the entire series. First, let's talk about Steel. This episode, if you don't know the episodes by title, that's fine. I'm not going to criticize or anything like that. But this episode, Steel, is the Daryl and Beth episode. In season 4, that followed only Daryl and Beth, where Beth was wanting to go get a drink, get alcohol. I remember watching this episode live, and I hated it. Same as mostly everybody else. The first time I watched it, I really only liked 2 scenes, and that was it. And the only 2 scenes that I liked of it are that Never Have I Ever scene where Daryl and Beth are playing that game, and Daryl gets mad and goes off and shoots Walker. And then the scene at the very end of the episode where Daryl and Beth are talking on the porch. Daryl explains his backstory, and they end up burning the house down. Those 2 scenes are really the only thing I liked about this episode. When it aired in 2014, I believe 2014. Like I said, I remember hating that episode, thinking it was the worst episode they've ever done. Until the hospital storyline happened. This is going to be a recurring theme in this little rant. I think this show probably worked better if it was a binge watch show. Like they stream on Netflix, like those kind of things. If this show would release all 16 episodes and watch them back to back to back to back, people would love this show. It would be getting great reviews. Mark my words. On what day is this? Okay, hang on. July 7th, 2017. I'm calling it right now. When this show is all said and done, when it's all said and done, when it's all over, when it's finished and not canceled. If it's canceled, probably not going to happen. But if it runs its desired end, this show will be one of the greatest TV shows of all time. And I'll get more into that a little later. But this show, I swear, if it would be one of those kinds of things where it would release all 16 episodes and people could binge watching, people complaining that this show is filler, you would be shut up. Now, that hospital storyline, could it have ended better? Sure, I probably would have. I won't spoil that, but you know, if you watch this video, you probably know what happens in Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. I would have had Noah die because I really didn't care for Noah anyway, so it's just like a waste of a character in my opinion. They really didn't do that much with him. But that episode wasn't filler, because that episode, watching it back to back, like I said, it built the relationship between Daryl and Beth. So when that hospital storyline happened and Daryl doing everything he can to save Beth happened, it meant something. You see, if this episode wouldn't have happened and it just didn't exist at all, that moment probably wouldn't have held the same reaction that you got watching it, because that episode was really what turned Beth from being this farmer's daughter to beginning to turn into a badass kind of character. Yeah, she didn't turn real badass until the actual hospital episodes happened, but still was where it began. Second episode that I want to talk about, one of the only 2 episodes that I'm talking about today that I loved watching it live, and that is season 6, episode 6, Always Accountable. I know when it aired, I had some friends who hated this episode. I remember being them talking trash on the show and talking trash on the episode because they didn't know what was coming. They didn't know what was being set up. This episode was the episode that had Daryl meeting Dwight in the woods, where Dwight stole his crossbow in that episode. Do I really have to explain what this episode set up? It set up the rivalry between Dwight and Daryl. It set up the character of Dwight. It set up the relationship between Dwight and Sherry, which is going to be a much bigger story later on down the road. That's going into like comic spoilers. That's going to be shown in the TV show. But this episode, I loved watching it. Like, I really don't think I have to say too much about this episode, because if you don't know what this episode set up, from Dwight to the rivalry between Dwight and Daryl to the relationship between Dwight and Sherry, the Saviors, that's not filler. Filler episode is something that describes an episode that has none at all, 0% effect on the story. Mainly that's in like sitcoms. Walking Dead hasn't had a filler episode. That brings me to the third episode that I want to talk about. This is the other episode that I watched live and I didn't like. The episode itself, great, but the ending, and right there I'm sure you guys know what I'm going with this. The season 6 finale, that cliffhanger of who did Negan kill. I remember watching the episode and I loved it, except for when that cliffhanger happened. And when that cliffhanger happened, that was a bad episode. And at the time, that was a bad episode. That was the worst episode. I remember I did a little rant. I changed that setting to private because for one, the quality of the video wasn't great, and two, I changed my opinion on it, and I don't think anybody really watched it, so whatever. But I did a little rant on that cliffhanger, and I will admit, I was one of those people that I didn't smash my TV or anything that drastic, but I was yelling, and I wasn't a happy camper. But watching it right before the season 7 premiere, a fantastic episode. And I remember watching that Talking Dead right after the season 6 finale, and Scott Gimple said something. I'm not sure exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, the reason we did this cliffhanger was because that was the end of the story for the season. And I remember at the time hating Scott Gimple. I remember wishing that Scott Gimple would leave. I remember thinking a lot of that crap. Now I love Scott Gimple. I think the show. I was about to say that I think the show is better with him. I really don't know. Like, I love the Frank Darabont episodes, and I like the Scott Gimple episodes during his time. I mean, Gimple has had the show longer. I don't know, but anyway, stick to the rant. What was I talking about? Yeah, what Scott Gimple said on Talking Dead. He said something along the lines of, that was the end of the story of that season 6, where Rick started the season off with being confident and thinks he's immortal. He can't be hurt, he can't die, he can't lose, confident. And then the last closing shots of the season was him realizing that he wasn't as great as what he thought he was. And I remember at the time hearing that, I didn't like it. I didn't like what he was saying. I didn't agree with it. But looking back, he was right. He's right. I swear, like I said, I really do think this show could benefit from being one of those shows where it releases all the episodes and you can just binge watch them like that. But it's good as what it is now, but I think if they were to go that route, this show wouldn't be as hated as it is, because especially with this last season. That brings me to my 4th episode that I want to talk about, and you know what, I'll change this one to the entire season 7, because I was going to just talk about the season 6 or episode 6, Swear. where that Tara, where she visited Oceanside, and Sydney, was it Rachel? I believe that was that little girl's name, and the rest of the women in Oceanside. This episode I loved. Season 7 is my favorite season. So far in the series, Season 7 is my favorite. I think that a lot of the comic readers loved this past season. For those of you who think Walking Dead is nothing but filler, you have to understand, Walking Dead has always been a drama show. It's never been a mindless action show killing zombies. If that's what you want, go watch Ash vs. Evil Dead or something. And I love Ash vs. Evil Dead. There's nothing wrong with that. But Walking Dead has always been a drama show first and an action show second. You cannot have the action without the drama. If you have action without the drama, it doesn't mean anything. Don't believe me, look at all of the episodes that people love of The Walking Dead. Too Far Gone, No Sanctuary, the season 7 premiere, the Day Will Come When You Won't Be. I believe that's the name. I know there are so many others that I'm forgetting. JSS. All of these action episodes. What do they have in common? They have build-up. And I know what you're thinking.
It doesn't take a season-long worth of build-up. It doesn't take that, Joseph.
Mark my words. Mark my words. When season 8 starts, you will realize that nothing happened in season 7 that doesn't come back. Like I said, I really do wish the show was a binge watch because of this fact. Because people who hate season 7 do not understand what they are building up. With each scene, they are building up something that will come back in a pretty big way that you have no idea what's coming. I don't want to spoil it, but when it happens, you know what? What I want those people to do, that if you think The Walking Dead is nothing but filler, here's what I want you to do. When the season 8 finale is coming close, I want you to start watching season 7 and the first 15 episodes of 8. And you will realize that season 7 was not filler. Everything that has happened in this show has come back. There are some things that take longer than others. I will admit that. There are some things that take a little bit longer than others, but everything comes back. When this show is all said and done, it will get the love it deserves. Because I can't stand when people complain about the build-up, because every action episode that The Walking Dead has done, Too Far Gone, No Sanctuary, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, No Way Out, some of my favorite episodes, and so some of, I'm sure, probably your favorite episodes. But they have to have build-up. If they don't have build-up, it won't matter. You won't really care. One thing you guys have to understand, if you think that Walking Dead is nothing but filler, you have to understand that this show has always been and will always be a drama show first. It has never prioritized action. I don't know what else to say without repeating myself over and over, which I'm probably have been. Like I am just tired of people complaining about the filler episodes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because I'm just repeating myself. Do you think Walking Dead is filler episodes or not? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me?